Yo guys, welcome back. Today we're covering an updated build guide for Valby. We'll be going over two bossing builds, both shown in the showcase. One is built for firearms, specifically A-TAMS, using supply moisture. The other is a build I've shown on this channel a bunch of times, her bullet spam build, which in my opinion is still the best skill bossing build in the game for any Descendant. Then we will cover two mobbing setups, neither of which I find overly strong. Mobbing is not her strong point in my opinion, but we will do a crit and non-crit mobbing setup. If you're interested in watching a lot of this come together live, I'm on Twitch every day, and we are leveling Arche and putting these builds together on stream, so feel free to stop by. Link is in the description. Now, let's get into it. So the first build we will get into is going to be the Firearm build using supply moisture. So we're going to be using a little bit of skill damage here and a little bit of firearm damage here because there is a good amount of time to set up skill damage with her, specifically bubble bullet and her 4. So when you load into something like Tormentor, you want to use 2 bubble bullets, then use your 4, use 2 more bubble bullets, zoom in your A-TAMS, and boom. Most of the times you'll kill them in 3 shots, depending on crits. So we will be using conditional recharge, which is going to drain our health, to proc walk the tightrope, and also proc the annihilation set that we're going to have on. We're using 2 focus mods, 2 more cooldown mods for the little bit of skill spamming we are doing, a extension and expansion mod, and shot focus with MP accelerant for a little more duration on those skills that we are precasting. Now for a reactor, it's actually the same reactor for both builds, the firearm and the skill build. It's going to be cooldown with Colossus, non-attribute infusion, and you're going to want this mounted to your Peacemaker, your hand cannon. As far as a set, you're going to go with the annihilation set. Not too much matters here. I'm assuming everybody has a decent MP set for their annihilation set, so you're just going to want to throw that on. Now over to our weapons. We are using the Peacemaker to spam our bubble bullet at the start and to use her 4. I have mine just basically built for sprint speed. I do have rounds per magazine roll on a substat to maybe get a little more shots out of her 4. And the same thing here. I have fire rate up, compulsive magazine, and expand charge. Now, as far as our A-TAMS, the substats and the cores are the same as I have had in my other A-TAMS videos. You're looking at toxic attack and firearm critical hit damage for your cores, and for your substats, toxic attack, firearm critical hit damage, firearm attack, and weak point damage. And as far as the build, it's basically the same. We're going with our toxic attack and weak point expansion. We have our firearm attack mods, our weak point mods, and then we have better insight and better concentration. She is getting a 100% crit chance with this weapon due to having supply moisture as well. For her RK tuning, we have built specifically into firearm attack, and we're also getting some more of that crit chance for the A-TAMS from these nodes here, and we're taking our critical hit damage, making sure we grab our weak point nodes here, and other than that, we're going firearm attack all the way. And for inversion reinforcement, the only important thing here is you make sure you have your toxic focus rounds on. This is very important. Please make sure you are selecting this. It's a pain that we don't have inversion presets, so just double check before you go into the fight. So let's get into her skill bossing build, which to me is still one of the best builds in the entire game when it comes to skills for taking down Colossus. We've seen this before. We are running a ton of cooldown, so we are getting our bubble bullet now to a 1.4 second cooldown, which actually can be down to 1.3. I just do not have gold cooldown on my reactor. We are stacking a ton of damage here. So we're running 2 fusion mods, 2 non-attribute mods. We have our 2 cooldown mods with MP conversion and nimble fingers, skill extension, skill expansion, dangerous ambush, and then we were running maximized duration because we were able to precast so many bubble bullets before the boss comes down that we want them to be there when he is unimmune again. Like I said, for our reactor, it's the same as the firearm one. You're going with cooldown and Colossus, non-attribute fusion, and make sure you have your Peacemaker mounting, and then we are doing the Slayer set, and for this you for sure are going to want to be making sure you have your MP stats on your pieces. Now for our Peacemaker, this is strictly a stat stick. This is going to be buffing her bubble bullet, which is the only ability we'll be using in this setup. You do not need to invest anything into this gun. Getting some movement speed is nice. Other than that, you are simply using this as a stat stick. Then we have Python. We're going to pull this out when the boss is downed because of the unique ability on this as well. On hitting a weak point, inflicts a unique ability prey on the target enemy, and this is going to lower the non-attribute resistance of the boss. So that's why we're pulling it out, and we already have all those bubble bullets on the ground doing the damage for us, and you can really see the damage ramp up when you do that in the video. I will show the mods for the Python. I really don't have this min-maxed very well at all. As you can see, it's set up for electric with the cores and the substats, but no big deal. This is the mod setup that I had on for the showcase. So now let's get into the Arche tuning, and we are going full skill power here. And we are also going to this cooldown node, which is so good for Valby. This gives you a chance to spam even more bubble bullets, even more damage. Along the way, we are going to grab this duration up. Like I said, we are precasting a lot of the bubble bullet, and we want to make sure that it is up for as long as possible. And having this added range here too is also not bad. So for her inversion reinforcement, there is something really, really nice here. It's going to be Arche circulation tactic, which when the enemy takes damage from a skill, it grants this ability, and this makes your skill cooldown minus 24% for 10 seconds, which does bring her bubble bullet cooldown down to its minimum available for 10 seconds, which is absolutely insane for Valby. We are using toxic focus rounds for when we shoot our Python, and having selective neurostimulation on is also nice, just in case you get a little low on MP during the fight. And now we'll go over her two mobbing builds. One's going to be a crit-based build using Blue Beetle, and the other is going to be a non-crit-based build. We will start with the crit-based build. So obviously we were building it to crit. We're using Supply Moisture, Skill Insight with Skill Concentration and Front Lines. We're getting the rest of our critical hit chance from our Arche tuning. You just couldn't fit the 4th Emergency Measures crit mod in here, or you just would end up with no HP. So we are at like 97%. Crit chance with this build using the HP mod. We have Focus on Fusion, Focus on Non-Attribute, MP Conversion, Nimble Fingers for a bunch of cooldown for our Bubble Bullet, because that is the main damage ability here, and we're using Skill Expansion with Skill Extension. As far as a reactor, I do not really have a mobbing reactor for Valby. I just use this. You mostly just want to make sure you have cooldown, and you'll be good to go. And we are using the Slayer set, and you do want a whole bunch of MP recovery stats on these pieces. For the weapon, like I said, it's Blue Beetle. Throw in your sprint cores. You're mostly using this for the unique ability, which is going to give you critical hit chance when using a fusion skill. Then we are rocking A-TAMS just to snipe the living shit out of bosses, especially with Supply Moisture still being on this build. This is a great dungeon boss killer, or if you're doing Sugma Sector, also a great way to drop those bosses very quickly, which is the main reason why I do like this build for the Arche tuning. We're coming around this way to grab all our skill power, get a little range here, which is very nice. Up to the top, more skill power, more MP. The cooldown is also very nice for a bubble bullet, and over here we're getting our skill critical hit damage with our skill critical hit rate. And for our inversion reinforcement, this is great, same as the bossing build. Great node for her. And we're using selective neurostimulation for some MP economy. And as far as the third one, you can take a lot of different things here. If you want to get a little more HP for survivability, you can go Biodensity. If you want to get a little more sprint speed to cap out sometimes, you can go Adrenaline Rush. And now for the non-crit build, this is something that Onry Biscuit put me onto and put a bunch of people onto with her recent Valby video. And it's pretty cool. Hydro Pressure Bomb. It changes your 2 into basically a great movement ability that does hit decently hard. I use this build for Sugma Sector, and it was a good way to level up. Very refreshing, very fun. As far as the mods, we're using 2 focus mods. We have non-attribute amplification. We're using Dangerous Ambush with extension, expansion, MP conversion, nimble fingers for our cooldown, and increased HP. I'm still using the same reactor here. Just make sure you have cooldown and get something else that is useful for the build. And we are still rocking the Slayer set with our MP stats. Now for this build, we are dropping Blue Beetle and using Peacemaker for the non-attribute damage bonus that it gives. And I'm still running around with A-TAMS just in case I want to snipe the head off a boss, because no matter what, this gun hits very hard. For the Arche tuning, we've done something a little different here. We went to our skill power. We got our range, which is very nice on this build. We come up for our cooldown, but now we're going to go over here and we're going to grab some duration up for her bubble bullet because we're not needing to go into those crit nodes. And here I like taking the MP recovery modifier, but you could also do the HP if that makes you more comfortable with the build. And for the inversion reinforcement, I'm running the same exact thing I was running on the crit build. And that covers everything for this updated Valby build guide with the Arche tuning. Any questions or suggestions about the builds, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe is appreciated. Thanks, guys. Peace.